alcohol in your breath. So
then I hid that really well.
lots of mints.
Totally kidding.
By totally, she means slightly. No, but who do you talk to? You're getting these calls in the middle of the night from people that say they have a friend who is depressed.
I have a lot of protective factors, which you need to have. I'm in therapy. Absolutely. I have a really wonderful 11-year-old son who I do not tell my problems to, but you asked what keeps me upbeat. And so that definitely does. I believe in God. I have a wonderful support system. I have wonderful family and friends. I know lots of other social workers I can talk to. And it also, and it might seem like a weird thing, this kind of work really does generate its own positivity. I mean, is it difficult? Absolutely. Am I exhausted afterwards emotionally? Absolutely. But then after that, it does energize me.
I understand exactly what you're saying, because when we deal with a particularly bad situation, I find myself reflecting afterwards, and I'm more appreciative of sky's a little bluer, bologna tastes a little better, world's a little nicer, because you've got the option to still make bad choices.
That's right.
And sometimes that's all you have, and sometimes that's a blessing, and you're hopeful for it. How long have you been doing this?
Suicide prevention, probably about 9, maybe 10 years.
How has technology impacted your supply stream?
Well, technology has a lot of wonderful things to offer. There are so many resources out there now, and so many different things. It used to be, you've got, 1-800-SUICIDE, and that's what everybody needs to do. But there's so many really great websites. And, I understand the other end of this is, how is social media making suicide a bigger problem? Absolutely. When you and I were kids and somebody wanted to make fun of your haircut and they told everybody in school, you can count how many people that is. Somebody wants to make fun of you now. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of people in other countries and in other states and in every school that now are getting in on it. So
you used to had to get in somebody's face and risk the backlash, and now you don't.
Right. Now absolutely. People can do it, from their phones hiding in the corner somewhere.
Yeah.
So certainly technology has made suicide, I don't want to say more attractive, but more attractive.
Easier.
Yes. But then also, it has also given life to a lot of really wonderful resources. There are really great websites. There are, there's counseling sites where you can just text them. If you don't want to have a conversation, you can have, you can text with
Are they free?
Yeah. Absolutely. I gave you some resource information.
Oh, no, you gave me a lot of information. I would die an old man researching all this and not be able to think about suicide.
A little overkill, but
yeah. There's a lot on this list.
But they're wonderful resources. There are counseling programs just for cops. And they have a hotline that is staffed by retired police officers who are trained as suicide prevention social workers. How great is that?
Yeah, MCES up here does a lot of that, and we've had them on the show and talk with them a lot.
So there's a lot of it's done a lot of positive things too.
That's a mixed thing though, because I think that there is an advantage to having people in your vocation, but I think there's an advantage. I think there's an advantage to having people not involved in your vocation if you're in emergency services that you talk to, and then they can ease you into those guys, because you don't want to be judged at all, and you just want to get filtered a little bit.
But you have that choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, it's interesting because technology has just made it, everything gets sped up and everything. And we had, I guess it was last year, maybe a little bit before, we've started to see technology influence missing person incidents in many ways. And there was a case where the guy FaceTimed his suicide. And I remember looking at that and I was thinking, I hope this doesn't catch on.
Yeah. That's terrible.
It's sad. You feel helpless along the way.
Absolutely.
And it's giving the person an audience that, I mean, you don't want to witness it, but the person on the receiving end also doesn't want to hang up and wants to find a way to help.
Right.
So that it's stuck, and it's kind of like the digital equivalent of getting somebody to participate in it, stepping in front of a train or something like that, because the other person is scarred forever too.
Absolutely.
What demographic does your work impact the most?
It's pretty wide. I get to do suicide prevention work with police officers and first responders. I've done work with school administrators. I'm more of an adult person. Like I do better with a room full of adults, I think, than I would with children. So I tend to focus on like parents and, teachers and things like that. I've done a lot of volunteers who work with older adults. I've trained older adults. I train social workers. A nice mix.
Do you charge for this?
It depends. There are some classes where I do get paid, and Penn State Abington will pay me for certain classes that I do for them, and then they charge a small fee. It's $20 for to attend one of those classes. But there's other classes where we don't charge, and so
so you live in a mansion on a hill.
Were you following me? Did you follow me home?
So you're just making enough to cover copying and expenses and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, yeah,
it's
absolutely.
It's made to be affordable to everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and we'll do it, the woman that I work with at Penn State Abington, if any classes we run through Penn State is a situation where, I can get an honorarium. Outside of that, she comes out of pocket to pay for materials, and I donate my time and, have information. We'll travel. It's too important not to do.
So this is all about the money.
Well, I'm a social worker. I started out like I have an MSW.
Yeah.
So.
Social worker.
Watch me go.
I went out with a social worker. Oh, the wealth, the riches, the ramen noodles, the trash picking.
That's right. The 3 jobs. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Social workers have to be artsy and craftsy because they're always making stuff out of nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, I think every piece of furniture in the house was never what it was originally.
Do you know how many social workers it takes to change a light bulb?
How many?
Just one, but the light bulb has to want to change.
It's amazing because it's so important, and it gets so publicized, and there's so many links about it. But in mainstream media, like I was saying before we came to this, they still don't know how to do it. And I've had reporters tell me it's still something we shy away from that. And I've had them in the middle of searches, and when they find out that the search ends in it being found that the person took their own life for whatever reason, they shy away from the ending of the story.
They do. And, when I do the class, I throw the word around constantly, and I try to throw it around constantly anyway. I have no problem asking somebody if they're thinking about suicide. You have to say the word suicide. It has to be a regular word. It can't be taboo anymore, because that's not helping.
Well, has anybody ever said I am?
Absolutely.
I'm envisioning, which is completely incorrect, some giant net coming out or something, but what exactly do you do?
If somebody says, if I say, are you thinking about killing yourself? And they say, I am, then I would say, do you have a plan? How long have you been feeling this way? Do you have the means? Are you willing to go talk to somebody? Are you willing to let me work with you to go find somebody to talk to? I don't want you to die.
Oh, I thought you were originally, the way you're presenting it, I thought you were just bringing out the inner lazy of the person and just breaking, okay, we're going to have to do this, and you're going to have to carry these blocks up to the roof and this, and like, I don't want to do it.
No.
Because you said, do you have a plan?
Right. Because somebody who has a plan, if somebody has suicidal ideation, you're trying to assess how quick of an issue is this going to be, and, how immediate is it? And so somebody says, yes, I've been stockpiling my medications for 2 months, and I could kill a small family with my, barbiturates. Or somebody says, yes, and I have a gun and it's loaded and it's under my bed and I'm ready. Versus somebody who says, no, I haven't really thought about how yet.
But what have you done when somebody said something that you considered, serious versus wanting attention?
911. I have them 302'd.
You've had that right from class?
Oh, no, not in class. No, not in class, but outside of class. for sure.
Okay, because I thought I got embarrassed in class, but when you get 302'd in the middle of the class, that
I will 302 you in the middle of class. No,
that gets you a nickname,
right? I imagine that would. No, I haven't had people tell me in class, in front of everybody, that they're considering suicide. I have had people out after class
pull you aside,
tell me, that they have struggled. In fact, I almost always have at least one person who tells me that they have or are struggling. And I make referrals. I ask them if they're seeing a therapist. Do they want to talk to somebody? If somebody is in imminent danger, like right now, then, I would call 911, or I would, work with them around calling a family member. I would try to contract with them. That's something that we do a lot of, as counselors.
And a big thing is not being alone, because with peer counseling and SISM, I know that. But are you able to, when you come into class, you've done this for going on 10 years or whatever, do you size up the room, and do you pick the person who's going to grab you in the hallway afterwards? Do you get a sense of it?
Well, some of that is easy because lots of people cry. And so usually whoever's crying usually wants to talk to me afterwards. I'm evocative. I'm surprised you haven't cried yet. I make people cry. I'm just kidding. No, but...
Well, when you said a thing about my hairdo, it did make me messed up a little, but I held it because of this radio. I said, we don't have to be mean to each other.
But no, you know what? And I don't know, because in the classes are all kinds of folks. There's counselors and social workers and first responders and teachers and people who have lost children to suicide, or spouses or parents. So, it's always a mix of that. You never really know. Do
you also work with the families of people who've committed suicides much?
A lot of times they will come to class. One of the first things that I say is that this is not a good vehicle for you to use to punish yourself. People who have lost somebody to suicide, who then go to suicide prevention classes, want to beat themselves up for the things that they didn't see and the signs that they missed. And, that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't bring anybody back. Doesn't make anybody feel better.
That's why I tell people all the time, they made a choice. You don't have to understand it.
Hindsight,
but it was their choice.
Right. Hindsight is 20/20. Let me help you, get some peace and be able to recognize it in case it presents itself to you in some other kind of way or with somebody else.
Right. And you're having a normal reaction to an abnormal situation.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledge it, own it, don't beat yourself up.
Mm-hmm. But I have talked to lots of families.
But I'm thinking about sending people to your next class and suggesting it to a couple families I've dealt with. But I feel, and we talk, but I feel odd about bringing it up because I know somebody's going to snap on me and go, why would I have to go to something like that?
So the classes that I do are specifically around it's suicide education and also prevention, how to recognize the signs, what to do with them. Some of the phone numbers and information that I've given you are for support groups for people who have lost somebody to suicide. And I very highly recommend that for that whole idea about being with somebody who understands what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
It can be, especially when it comes to suicide or losing a child, that really can be invaluable. And so, you might want to pass along some of those phone numbers too. I think
I absolutely
that's really useful for people who've been through it.
And it's odd because the people that I've dealt with, it may sound weird, but I don't think they're ready for this in the beginning. I think it's something that's 30 days out or something like that when their head starts to clear because they're just spinning. And I think if you give it to them in the beginning, it'll get thrown in a corner so far they'll never find it. I think it's better to sit down with them after a couple of weeks and say, how are you doing? And here's some things that may help you. Because they need to go through their stages.
They do.
Some guidance along the way.
They need to be able to talk about it. And they need to know that you're a safe place for them to talk about it.
Yeah, as judgmental as I am in every aspect of everything all day, all the time, with this stuff, I'm not judgmental at all. Even on the people that do it, other than getting annoyed with very young people that do it. And, but I'm perpetually annoyed with young people anyway, so it doesn't matter. Life, death.
Comes with the territory.
And I just think of what you said about, you are 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and you think that this was a final thing that you weren't going to be able, you weren't even going to remember this event in 10 years, 20 years.
Nope.
You know, and you'd be